In the previous video, we have seen the importing of data from multiple files and pre-processing of data in detail. So in this video, we will continue with extracting features from raw data. So we will see what are the useful features that we can extract so that we can use those features for further classification. So the features that we will consider here for extraction from raw data will be first from based on some basic statistical calculations. Okay, we will see how to extract some features, and then some features based on the peaks that are there in the signal. Then we will see by computing the derivative of the signal, okay, the some features how we can extract, and then calculating correlations between signals. We can we will see how to extract some features. Okay, so we will try out these methods, and we will see how to extract some useful information from the raw data which we can extract as features, and those features we can use it for further classification of our data. Means we can use it further for classification of the handwritten alphabets. That is the example that we have been seeing. So we will continue with the same example through this video also. In this video, we will also see how to extract these features automatically by writing a feature extraction function, and also how to extract the features automatically when you have got multiple data files, so that when we are importing the data, automatically the features in that particular data will be extracted. So these are the contents of this particular video. So first we will see how to calculate some statistical functions. So here in this particular slide, you can see the statistical functions that are available in MATLAB. Okay, you must be familiar with these functions. We have got different statistical functions like mean, median, mode, range, standard deviation, variance. Okay, so we have got many functions which will be useful for us to extract some information from the raw data. So we will see which of these functions can be used in our example of handwritten characters. So first, okay, we will see how to quantify the shapes of these letters using different statistical functions. Okay, so for that, what will be useful for us is different alphabets. Okay, will have different distributions of points. So we can use some statistical measures that will describe the shape of these distributions. Okay, so we will use such statistical functions, okay, that will be useful features for us in further classification. So what are the functions? Okay, we will see. First one is, okay, as we have been doing in the previous videos also, one important feature, okay, that would be useful for us, that will define the shape of the alphabet that we are classifying, is the aspect ratio, which is defined as the range of y-axis divided by the range of x-axis. Okay, so that defines the aspect ratio. Okay, and this aspect ratio varies for different alphabets. Okay, so this is one useful feature which will help us in classification of handwritten alphabets. Okay, apart from that, we can also use the median of the data points, because the median value is less sensitive to outliers. Okay, already in the previous video we have seen know how to set the mean value of all the alphabets as 0. Okay, we have done some shifting of mean to make sure that the center points of all the alphabets are aligned. So yeah, that is done already. So now here we see that median is going to be more useful for us because it is less sensitive to outliers. So we will use that as one of the statistical function that will give us some useful information. We can also calculate the spread of values, okay, using the mean absolute deviation function, that is MAD function in MATLAB, that tells you the spread of values. Okay, so we are using as you can see in the code, we are using the median function and this MAD function for calculating the median and mean absolute deviation for the X position and Y position. Okay, so all these calculations that are done in this program is for no, the alphabet B. Okay, the data that we are using here is the B1 data. Okay, that corresponds to the handwritten character B. So when we are calculating the median, what has to be taken care is to include this option to omit the NaN values. Okay, so that it does not affect our calculations. So next thing that we can know use to get some useful information is by finding the peaks in the signal. Okay, the local minima and maxima in the signal are usually important features of a signal. So we will see how to get these local minima and maxima points, and we will also see how to identify the prominent local minima and maxima points, and then use that in our example for as features for further classification. So for calculating the minima and maxima points, we will use some inbuilt MATLAB function, that is local min and is local max. Okay, these are the two functions that we will use. Is local min will give us the no indices of the minimum points, okay, the local minimum points, and is local max will give us the indices of the local maxima points. Okay, so that we are storing it in IDX min and IDX max variables. Okay, so this computation is is done in this program for the data M1. Okay, that corresponds to the alphabet M. So what we are doing is, once we use this is local min and is local max function to identify the minimum and maximum points. We want to plot it and see whether okay those points are identified correctly. So for that I am making a plot of time versus x position. Okay, so that is the plot that you can see here. X-axis is time, m1 dot time, and y-axis is the x position, that is m1 dot x. Okay, after making this plot I am using a hold on command, because on the same plot I want to represent the minima and the maxima points that are identified by the is local min and is local max functions. Okay, so how I am going to plot that is, because these two functions are going to return the indices of the minimum and maximum points in the data. I am going to use that as index in m1 dot time variable and m1 dot x variable. Okay, so I will plot m1 dot time with idx min as index, similarly m1 dot x with idx min as index, and these points I'm representing it by a circle. So you can see in these points, all these circles that you see here, they represent the local minimum points. Same way I can plot the local maximum points. To differentiate it from the local minimum points, I am plotting it using squares. Okay, so you can see all the squares that are there in these plots represent the local maxima points. Okay, so this is how we can identify the local minima and local maxima points in the signal. So once that is done, okay, now I will calculate what is the prominence value of each local minima and local maxima. Okay, so we will first see how to calculate this prominence value, and then we will see how to use this prominence value further in our feature extraction. Okay, so how to get this prominence value is, okay, we will use the same function is local min and is local max. Okay, this particular function returns two values. Okay, one is the indices of the minimum points or the maximum points, and the second value that it returns is the prominence value. Okay, in the previous case when we use this particular function, we ignored this second output, but now we are including the prominence value also to know the prominence of each of the minima and the maxima points. Okay, so you can see here I have calculated, I have used the is local min function. Okay, it returns the minimum points and the prominence values. Then I'm making a plot of time versus the prominence values of each of those local minima points. So you can see that particular plot. Okay, this is y-axis is the prominence value and the x-axis is the time value. So there are three no peaks that you can see in this particular graph. This corresponds to the 3 minima, no local minima points that we saw in the previous graph. Okay, now if you look at this prominence values, 2 of these prominence values are having a value greater than 0.1 and one has got a value which is less, okay, close to 0.02. So in next we will see how to no use only those prominent values which have got no higher value and how to ignore those values which have got lower values. Okay, so by default this no is local min and is local max, okay, they give you the prominence values of no all points no wherever the prominence value is greater than 0. But when we have got noisy signals, okay, and no these noise in the signals may cause some no minima maxima and some prominence values may arise due to this noise. So in order to avoid such interference from the noise, we can set some minimum threshold value. Okay, and we can define that only those local minimas and maximas which are above that particular threshold value no are to be identified. Okay, so that is what we are going to do here now. So we are using the same is local min and is local max functions. Okay, but we are passing another argument here which says that the minimum prominence value has to be 0.1. Okay, so only those local minimum values where the prominence value is greater than 0.1 will be identified and those values will be stored. Okay, the indices of those points will be stored in this IDX min. Same way we calculate the local maxima points considering only those maxima points where the no minimum prominence value is greater than 0.1. Okay, and those goes to this variable IDX max. Okay, so next we will use a plot program similar to the one that we have done already. So this gives us a plot of time versus the x-axis position along with the local minima points and the local maxima points. Okay, if you see here, there are only 2 local minima points and 1 local maxima point because we have got only these points where the prominence value is greater than 0.1. That is the threshold value that we have set here. So these, okay, peaks that are there in these signals, okay, we can use these no peak values no for further no classification of signals. So these are also some useful no features that we have extracted for no further use. The third feature that we can okay use is the derivatives, okay, by computing the derivatives of the signal. So as you know, depending on the different okay shapes of alphabets, okay, the slope of the position, okay, the slope of the graph will change. The no actual data, the raw data that we have, it has got only time versus the x position of pen and the y position of pen. So based on this data, we can calculate what will be the slope by computing the derivative. Okay, because this is a discrete data, we will be using finite difference approximation to compute this derivatives. So we have got an inbuilt MATLAB function, no DIFF, that is the difference function which computes the difference between successive elements of an array. Okay, so this is the function that we are going to use to compute the derivatives. Okay, it just gives you the difference between successive elements of an array. Okay, so yeah, we will see how this particular computation is done. So we are loading sample letters.mat, okay, and then the file that I am using here is M2. Okay, so we can calculate what is the difference between successive elements in M2.x. Okay, so that I am storing it in the variable dx. Similarly, I am calculating what is the difference in successive elements in M2.time. Okay, so that I am calling it as dt. Okay, so next I can calculate the slope as dx divided by dt. Okay, now what we have to note here is dx is an array of elements that contains the successive, no, the difference between successive elements. Okay, similarly dt is also an array. So when I have to find dx divided by dt, I am dividing the elements in the array dx by the elements in array dt. Okay, so it is no matrix. It is not a normal matrix division. This is a element wise division that I need to perform. So I will use this dot divided by. Okay, so that is one difference that is to be noted here. Then I will make a plot of, okay, the time variable versus dx by dt to see the variation of slope with respect to time. So when I'm making this particular plot, what we need to note is the number of elements in this dx by dt will be one less than the number of elements in the original data. Okay, the original time data, because the reason is when you calculate successive difference between successive elements, the output will be one element shorter than the original data that you give as input. Okay, so in order to compensate for that difference in the length of the two, okay, arrays, I am considering only the elements 1 to end minus 1. Okay, means the last data in the time variable I am leaving it out, and I am plotting only considering the data from the first data till the last but one data. Okay, so that is my x-axis, and y-axis is the slope dx by dt. Okay, dx dt, that is the variable name. So you can see that particular plot, okay, which shows the variation in slope with respect to time. So same way I can also calculate for y variable, okay, what is the difference in y variable, and I can calculate what is dy by dt. Okay, then I can also calculate what is the maximum value of dx by dt and what is the maximum value in dy by dt, means the maximum slope in x position and the maximum slope in y position. Okay, means dx by dt what is the maximum value and dy by dt what is the maximum value. Okay, so I can make this computation. So here you can see, okay, the output as given by this program is also displayed. So when we are calculating this dy by dt, we get some infinite and some non values. Okay, the reason is when there is no change, okay, in the values, okay, it gives you the slope becomes 0 divided by 0. That gives you a not a number. Okay, so such outputs are found in this dy by dt. So because of that, when you compute this maximum value in dy by dt, it comes out to be infinity. Okay, so we will see how to avoid that. So to avoid that, we use one function that is called as standardize missing. Okay, so what this particular function will do is, whatever is the infinite values in dy by dt, it will replace it by non values. Okay, whatever values that you specify here as second argument, those values will be replaced by nan. Okay, so that is what this particular function standardized missing will do. So in this case, we are replacing all infinite values by nan values. So when you are computing this max using using the function maximum value using the max function, it usually ignores nan values. Okay, so that is not going to affect our result. So infinite values, we are replacing it by nan values. So you can see here, on further execution of this program, the maximum dy value comes out to be 7.1619. Okay, this is after replacing the infinite values. So this is how we will compute the derivatives and use these values for further classification. So the next, okay, the last one, the fourth feature that we are going to extract is the correlation between the different data. So just to understand, okay, what is this correlation, we have got two sets of data that is shown here. If you look at this particular first graph, okay, if you just look at the shape of the signal, they look different from each other. But then when you look at this particular relationship, okay, wherever this yellow, okay, shading is given, wherever the first signal is decreasing, you can see the second signal is increasing. Okay, similarly in this blue region of this graph, okay, whenever the first signal is increasing, the second signal is decreasing. Okay, so we see that there is a negative, okay, correlation between the two data. Okay, so this kind of similarity can be no extracted from the data using the correlation function. Okay, so that is what we are going to see, how to extract this for our data. Now, okay, if you look at, okay, this particular no alphabet, no V, okay, this is the shape of, okay, the alphabet V. So if we see the first half, okay, of the letter V, the horizontal and the vertical positions, okay, have got a negative linear no correlation. How we say it is negative linear correlation is, no, as the horizontal position increases, the vertical position decreases. Okay, an increase in horizontal position, okay, simultaneously the the vertical position decreases. Okay, so the correlation between x variable and y variable for the first half of the letter V is negative. When you come to the next half, as the x value increases, the y value also increases. Okay, so there is a positive correlation in the second half of the alphabet V. Okay, so such correlation between, okay, the data points can be computed using this COR function, okay, CORR function in MATLAB, that calculates the linear correlation between different variables. Okay, so we will see how this calculation is to be done. So, okay, we are using the same data, okay, V2, that corresponds to the alphabet, okay, V. So here you can see the plot of V2.x comma V2.y. Okay, you can see this particular plot along with the data points. Okay, you can see this no plot. So we are next calculating what is the correlation between V2.x and V2.y. Okay, if you calculate, okay, using this CORR, okay, this is an inbuilt MATLAB function that calculates the correlation between the two inputs. Okay, so now if you calculate correlation this way, we see that, okay, the result that we obtain is a nan, okay, not a number, because, okay, they have got some missing data. Okay, because there are some missing data in the variables. Okay, so the result that we obtain for the correlation value is not a number. Okay, so how to avoid this missing variables is, we add a few more no parameters to this correlation function, which says that only those rows that are complete need to be considered for the calculation of correlation. Okay, so this will automatically, what it will do is, wherever there are missing values, it will leave out those rows and it will consider only those rows which have got complete data, and it will calculate the correlation. Okay, so using this particular code, we see that the correlation value comes out to be 0.6493. Okay, that is the correlation value that we obtain using this code. Now, how to understand this correlation value is, okay, the correlation coefficient, usually the value is, okay, it is always between -1 and +1. -1 indicates a perfect negative linear correlation. Okay, and a +1 indicates a perfect positive linear correlation. Okay, means when there is a 100% correlation, it is -1 if it is a negative correlation, it is +1 if it is a positive correlation. Okay, a value 0 indicates that there is no correlation between the two variables. So any value between 0 to 1 or 0 to -1 indicates the level of correlation between the two variables. So in the previous case, we got the correlation as 0.6 something. So it is a moderate, okay, correlation that is there between the two variables. Okay, so no, the reason why the correlation was moderate may be because we have considered only we have considered the entire signal while calculating the correlation. So to make it, okay, more meaningful and to make it more informative, we will consider the two halves of the signal separately. Okay, we will take the first half of the signal and the second half of the signal, and we will calculate what is the correlation. Okay, So to do that separation, we have got this particular data file v2. So this particular data file has got 22 rows. Okay, so out of these 22 rows, I will take the first 11 rows. Okay, no, I'm going to divide it into first 11 rows and the next 11 rows. Okay, so I'm going to make it as 4 columns. The first column will have the first 11 rows of X position. Okay, the second column will have the first 11 rows of Y position. Then the third column will have the second half. Okay, means the second 11 rows of the X position. Okay, and followed by the last column. Okay, will have the last 11 rows of Y position. Okay, so instead of having it as two columns with 22 values each, I am going to divide it into 4 columns with 11 rows. Okay, and then I am going to compute what is the correlation, okay, between the elements of this particular array M. So when I calculate this correlation, this gives me a 4 cross 4 matrix. Okay, you can see this correlation. Okay, CMAT that is displayed here. Now how to understand this is the first element. Okay, this element gives you the correlation between first row and first row. Okay, means because it is the same element for which we are finding the correlation. Okay, it is equal to 1. Okay, same thing you can see for all the diagonal elements. Okay, this is second row correlation with second row. Okay, third row correlation with third row. Okay, so all the diagonal elements are 1. Now coming to the other elements, this one, okay, minus 0.9896, this shows the correlation between the first row and the second row. Okay, sorry, the first column and the second column. It is not row, it is column. Okay, so the correlation between the first column and the second column. This 0.2166 is the correlation between the first column and the third column. Okay, 0.2231 is the correlation between the first column and the fourth column. Okay, so similarly you can see, okay, the correlation between different columns you can find here as a 4 cross 4 matrix. Okay, so you can see the matrix is a symmetrical matrix. Okay, the reason is because the correlation between first row and first column and the second column will be same as the correlation between the second column and the first column. Okay, so this particular matrix that you obtain will be a symmetrical matrix. Okay, so like this we can compute the correlation between, okay, the different data by considering, okay, different parts of the data by splitting it. So that will give us some information which can be useful for further classification of data. So this is about calculating correlations. So next we will move on to how extracting feature automatically. Okay, how to automate this feature extraction. So first we will see how to write a function for feature extraction. Okay, so before that we will consolidate, okay, the feature extraction functions that we have been seeing in this particular video, so that, okay, we will be able to include that as a function. Okay, so the different feature extraction, the features that we are extracting are the aspect ratio. Okay, then we are extracting this local minima peaks with prominence value greater than 0.1. Okay, and then we are computing the we are calculating the number of local minima peaks using this nnz, okay, function that will calculate the number of, okay, local minima peaks. That is, okay, another feature that will may be useful for us. Okay, so then we are also calculating the number of the local maxima points with prominence value greater than 0.1 and the number of maxima points. Okay, that is your num y max, that gives you the number of maxima points. Then we are calculating the slope dx by dt and dy by dt, and we are calculating the mean of dx by dt and dy by dt. Okay, means we are calculating the mean slope in x position and mean slope in y position. Okay, so that I'm calling it as average dx and average dy. Okay, next I'm calculating the correlation between x and y, okay, for the complete rows. Okay, so I'm calculating what is the correlation. So these are the various, okay, computations that you can do with the raw data. But okay, for our classification, okay, we will use the following, okay, features. We will use the aspect ratio, okay, we will use the number of local minimas and the number of local maximas. Then we will use the average, okay, the mean of dx by dt and the mean of dy by dt and the correlation between x and y. Okay, so these are the 6 features that we will be considering for further classification. Okay, so we will see how to obtain these particular features. So what we will do next is we will know we can make a computation of these features once, okay, this particular program is executed, okay, for this particular day, no, file b1, okay, that is the file that we are now considering here, no, corresponding to the alphabet b. So I am storing it, okay, in the no variable name letter, okay, that is the note data that we are considering for all these calculation of features. Okay, now whatever this features that we are extracting, we want to put it in a table format. Okay, we do not want it as, okay, just know as different variables and values. We want to put it in a tabular format. Okay, so to put it in a tabular format, we will use the table function. So this, okay, table function will take whatever, okay, values you want to put it in the table, the variable names of those, okay, values we have included here. So we have got this aspect ratio, number of no local minima peaks, number of local maxima peaks, the average in dx value, the average in dy value, and the correlation. Okay, so it will pick out all those values and it will put it in a table form, and I am naming that table as no features. Okay, feature table. Okay, so that is FEAT, feature table. Okay, so you can see here these are the values that we obtain, okay, for the no given data set. No, the values of aspect ratio, number of x minimum, number of y minimum, no, y maximum, and then average dx, average dy, and correlation. And then this table command puts all those values in this table format. Okay, and then when I'm putting it in the table format, next what I want to do is this variable names. Okay, this table no, the names that the table has taken is directly the variable names that we have used here. Okay, I do not want the variable names to be used here. Instead, I want the names that we have defined here as feature names. Okay, these are the feature names that we have defined. So I want these feature names to be the names are given to each of these columns in the table. Okay, so to do that, we will use include some additional parameters in this particular table command. So okay, it is the same table, okay, function that we are again using. These are the different values that should go into the table. Okay, the 6 values that will go into the table. Then the variable names, okay, inside single quote I am giving the variable names that are to be taken as the feature names. Okay, that is already defined in the previous part of the code. So it will take the names that are defined in this particular array, feature names, to be the variable names. Okay, so you can see here the same table is displayed here. You can see these variable names. Okay, it is not a ratio or num x min, okay, or anything like that. This is, okay, the aspect ratio, and okay, whatever names we had defined in the array, feature names, that has become the variable names here. Okay, so this is how you will form a table and okay, put the values that we are extracting, okay, from the raw data, and form of features table. Okay, so next we will see how this is to be written as an function. Okay, in the previous code that we have written, we have just written it as a main code. Now we can, okay, convert it as a function. So the main part of the code is just loading the data, and then this extract is the function that I am going to write, that will extract the data extract the features from the data B2. Okay, B2 is the data that I am getting from this sample letters.mat. So this extract is the name of the function that I am writing here. Okay, so this extract takes, okay, the input. This B2 goes as input to this extract function, and it calculates, okay, the different features. So the same code what we have written already, okay, that is part of this particular function. So whenever this extract function is called, it will take the input data and it will calculate all the features, okay, and it will return the features, okay, that we can use for further classification. Okay, so this is how you can write a feature extraction function. So next what we will see is how to extract these features from multiple data files. Okay, as we have seen already, okay, in the previous video, usually, okay, the data is stored in multiple files. Okay, it is not a part of single file. So when you have got multiple files, how to extract features from multiple files using data store and transform. Okay, using data store we have already seen, okay, how to load multiple files using data store. So along with data store, how to extract the features also using this transform function, so that when you are importing the function, automatically, okay, the features in that particular files will be, the data in the files will be extracted. So for doing that, okay, we are using this data store function to load all the files. Okay, when I say star.text, this, okay, loads the data in all the files that is available. Okay, so that I am storing it in the variable letter ds. Okay, now first thing, before feature extraction, okay, I need to pre-process the data. This we have seen how to do it in the previous video. So okay, I am using the same thing. I am using this transform command and this scale function. Okay, so this scale function will do the pre-processing in the data letter ds. Okay, so this will give me a transformed data store, okay, by the name pre-processed data store. Now again I am going to use the same transform function. The input to this transform function will be the pre-processed data store. Okay, this pre-processed data store goes as input, and I am going to use the function extract. Okay, I am going to call the function extract, that will not extract the features that is there in the data, and it will return, okay, the data store feature table data store. Okay, feature table data store is returned. So next, when you are going to read from this particular data store, okay, using the read all command, this read all function also we have seen already. This is used to read the complete data from the data store. Okay, so when you are going to read this particular data store, automatically, okay, the features will be extracted, and those features will be stored in this variable name data. Okay, that is the table. Okay, the features will be automatically calculated and stored as table data. Okay, you can see that this is the table data. So you have got, this is a 12 cross 6 table. Okay, this corresponds to the 12 files. Okay, there are no 12 files that we have loaded. Okay, so we have got 12 rows. Each row corresponds to one file. Okay, and there are 6 features that we have extracted for each data. Okay, so those 6 features that you can see here. Okay, you know it is not visible here, but this is a 12 cross 6 array. Okay, a 12 cross 6 table. Next, I make a scatter plot. Okay, just to see the plot between aspect ratio and correlation. Okay, x-axis is the aspect ratio, y-axis is the correlation, to just see how the data is distributed in this particular space. Okay, now what we have done till now is we have got the input variables. Okay, these features that we have extracted from the raw data, it is the input variables. Okay, now we also need the output variable. Okay, because when we are going to perform the classification, okay, when we are going to build a model, no, we need to give the input variables as well as the output variable. Okay, only then we will be able to train it and we will be able to build a model. Okay, so now how to find the output variable corresponding to each of these features. Okay, so that is what we are going to see next. For that we are going to use, okay, a function known as extract between. Okay, what this function will do is it will extract, okay, the character or the letter name that appears in between, okay, two characters. Okay, for example, if you see here our files, okay, whatever the file names that we have used is of this particular format. Okay, user followed by 3-digit user number underscore, okay, followed by the alphabet for which the data is stored, underscore, followed by underscore, then again followed by the sample number. Okay, so this X, okay, what is indicated here, this is the alphabet for which, okay, there is data in that particular file. Okay, the data in that particular file corresponds to this alphabet, okay, which is part of the file name. So now we are going to use this extract between function, which will give us, okay, the character that is there between the two underscores. Okay, so these are the I am going to extract the character between the two underscore. Okay, because we have got an underscore on either side of this character. Okay, so for that I am using the input as letter ds dot files. Okay, letter ds is the data store that we have extracted, that we have downloaded our data. That is the data store that we have created. Dot files is the files that are available in the data store. Okay, so it will take all the files as inputs, it will take the file names, and it will extract the characters which are there between the two underscores. Okay, and those values are stored in this variable name known character. Okay, so you can see here, okay, it is displayed here. This is the information that is extracted from the file names. Okay, now next we need to convert this variable known character into a categorical variable, because when we are doing a classification operation, the output variable has to be a categorical variable, means it has to contain different categories or different groups. So to do that conversion, we use this categorical of known character. Okay, that will return the categorical variable form, and I'm storing it in the same variable known character. After that, we have to insert this particular column, okay, in the data table as the last column. We already have got 6 columns in the data table. Those are the 6 features that we have extracted. So as the 7th column, this character column will be added. So to do that, I will assign data.character. This character is the new column that I'm inserting, that will be equal to known character. Okay, so this data that we have extracted as known character, that will be stored as the character column in the data table. So after that, now our feature set is completely ready. Our data is ready for training the classification algorithm and for building a model. So we can use that for further processing. So before that, just to visualize the data, we are plotting a G-scatter plot. I'm plotting aspect ratio versus data correlation, versus correlation in the data. Along with that, I'm passing a third character, data.character, that will determine the color of the plot points. Okay, the data points. So as you can see here, red color is assigned to the data points corresponding to the character M, and blue color is assigned to the data points corresponding to the variable V. This is just to visualize the data. So we will use this particular data that we have extracted and we have formulated as a table. We will use this to further classify the handwritten alphabet. So that part we will continue in the next video, where we will be seeing how to build a classification model using this data set as input, and how to evaluate that particular model. Okay, so that we will continue in the next video. Thank you.